Hello friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Shelley and today I will be talking the best books of first half of 2022. So I know people usually do this in chronological order or pick the best book of each month. However, some months there might be one book, some months there might be more, especially January and February were really good book picks for me. So I'm gonna do this a little bit differently. I think I'm gonna start with books that are a little bit nostalgic, books that are part of a really long series that I love and probably are not very interested for all of you, and then I'll get to things that you might be more interested in. I have altogether 18 books on this list, of which 12 I own physically. So there is 6 books that 3 I read as an audiobook and 3 I read as ebook. So I'll try to get those up to the front also, and then we can get to all the interesting ones. So first I'll start with Guild Codex Universe books. So this year I have read 2 of books in that series and I have absolutely loved both of them. The first one is the Guild Codex comic collection. This was one of the first books I read, and basically this is a big universe of books. I think 18 books are in the series right now published, and it is devised of I think 4 mini sub-series, and this has some of the short stories as little short snippets from those actual books. And this is drawn by Ashley Zanardi, who was a fan of this, and Annette Marie saw the art and they devised of this, and there is also WebToon comics. So I'll link that down below. The second one that I really loved was Long Forgotten Winter King, and that is the second book in the Druid mini-series of this, and I'll give a very brief synopsis of the whole series. So this series takes place in our world, mostly in Vancouver, where there is a hidden magical world, and our main character, who is fully human, by accident gets drawn in. And by main character I'm talking about the first one that was published. I think this is the redhead one, I think. Victoria. And she becomes a bartender in this guild of magical people. And the second mini-series is about a really nice girl called Robin who makes a deal with a demon, and her part of that deal is to bake cookies for him. The third one is about a little bit of a crook who can manipulate things with his mind, who becomes to work in a magical police. And the fourth one is about a little bit mean and very questionable ethics druid. And he is one of my favorite characters, and I haven't read the last book yet that is being published, but I'm pretty sure it will be 5 stars also. And next I'm going to briefly mention Lead. This is the third book in a series by Kylie Scott, and this is a contemporary romance book series that I read in spring, and this is about a band whose characters start finding love of their lives. And I loved the most the story about the lead singer who had drug problems and gets more involved with his personal assistant who he is living with. So for some reason one of the clips didn't film, so I'm gonna go talk about 3 books I think I'm missing. So first I'll start with Monstress. So I have volumes 1 to 6. The 7th one is coming out I think in September. I right now have just 4 because the first 2 I lent it to a friend, and I absolutely loved all of these 6. I think most of them got 4.5 or 5 stars, so my favorite that got 5 stars were the first 2 and also the 4th one and the 6th one. And I think if I were to pick the most favorite out of those 4, it would probably be either one. This I really loved the plot and the world and everything else we got to explore. However, the cliffhanger in this one is mind-boggling, and I need to get the 7th volume as fast as I can get. So this whole series is steampunk fantasy in a world where we have witches and we have magical creatures, and witches use the bones of the magical creatures to get them some power. And we have our main character, who I think is one of the magical creatures, and she has some sort of entity or something inside her that is really hungry, and some weird things are happening around her. For you to read this, I recommend reading first 2 or first 3 volumes back to back together, so this way you get a better understanding the whole world, the plot and everything else. If you just read one, I think it might be a little bit confusing. However, I do have to say the art is absolutely beautiful. For example, let's take like this one. So absolutely beautiful, and it's my favorite graphic novel comics series. And next I have 2 books on my list. One of them was another reread, so Love in Lingerie by Alessandra Torre, and this I read, I think 1 year, 2 years ago, I think last year. And it's a contemporary romance, and I absolutely love this. This is about both, we get the male and female point of views. The female is changing jobs. She is a lingerie designer, and his company is not doing well, so she is looking for somebody to work to design their whole new line, and she will come to the company. However, because of some bad previous experiences, he does not permit any fraternization in the company, but they do flirt a lot. We see their friendship develop throughout the years, and I really like this book. And last book I have on my small list, and then I can go give it back to that old Hillary, is Heidi Sky to 4-letter words. So this is another contemporary romance, although I think it had a little bit less smut in it. I read it this spring as an audiobook, and honestly I recommend going and listening it as an audiobook. This is about a somewhat shy girl, or young one, who decides to start a podcast when she's drunk to then read some smutty scenes from different kind of books. And in this, she discovers more about herself, getting more bolder, and also finding the love of her life. And it was really nice and witty and funny. I laughed out loud so many times during that book, and I definitely recommend you to give it a try. So I have a couple of bigger, heavier, chunkier books on this list also, but before we get to there, I have 2 more books I want to mention, and maybe a little bit of series also. The first one was my first ever T. Kingfisher book that I read, A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. This is a YA fantasy book in a world where people have magical skills. However, not everybody knows them, and they aren't treated very well. For example, one girl can talk to tornadoes. However, she might not know that she has that magical skill if she lives somewhere where there isn't any tornadoes. However, our main character can talk to dough, make it grow, make it become somewhat alive, and so on. And she is thrown into this plot where a lot of magical people are being killed, and she is blamed for it and also is a target for it, and she tries to figure out who is doing it and for what. And I loved the funny, humorous vibe of it, really nice, fast-paced, and I enjoyed it. It did give me a lot of middle grade vibes that some of the books have given me this year, and I really enjoyed it. The second book or part of the series I'm going to mention is Pride of the Sea, and that is the Otherworld series by Emma Hamm. So this is a different kind of fairy tale retellings. And I started the series a little bit differently. I started with book 3 and maybe 4 and 5, I think I read about Raven stories, and it was a lot of years ago, and I decided, okay, I'm going to start the series from the beginning. Each of the story is a separate one, and I think that's really nice, although I think they're part of the general bigger world that they're all part of. The first 2 stories that I read last year were connected and were continuous stories, and that was Beauty and the Beast retelling, where we have a healer that goes into a fae world. She lived in a brothel with her sisters, but there is a magical disease that is killing people, and she wanted to get a cure from the buffet world, and comes up to a beast, and at the end she's trying to figure out what is killing and also trying to make the beast more sociable, let's call it. But this year I read Pride of the Sea, and that is the Little Mermaid retelling, and honestly I just love the vibes and the general love story and also the world. So definitely check out that series. I have 6 books left, however 4 of them are part of 2 series, so I'll start with Calent by E Schwab. And I honestly loved the dark vibes. I don't think I need to go very into details what this is about. This is about an orphan girl who discovers that she has a family and is invited into this mysterious mansion to live, while also weird things start happening. So she's trying to figure that out, but also trying to figure out to get more to know about her deceased mother. So we have 2 timelines, and I love the vibes. I love the 2 timeline stories. The mother story that is we get snippets of her diary, and then we get the whole story at the end, and honestly it was very, very good book. Next I'm going to for the Poppy War halfway trilogy. So I started the Poppy War, the first book, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago or something like that, and I read the first book. I was a little bit disappointed about it. It was hyped very much, how dark and disturbing this book is. However, it had such small snippets of darker parts, except for the particular scene at the end. So I think I was just a little bit overhyped. However, I did want to actually finish the series, and I had such a big break, so I reread this in January and I enjoyed it much more. I enjoyed it how the dark scenes are just thrown a little bit in, and you get the mood with dark and disturbing. However, there is the main character who does these weird jokes at the beginning, just how she copes, and it goes on and on and on. I also read the second book. I'm in the middle of the third book, however I hit the reading slump, so hopefully I can finish that in the near months, because I don't want to restart the series again before I forget everything. And again, this is so well-known book series that I don't know even if I should give some synopsis. Basically, this is about a girl who has really shitty living conditions. She's trying to get into military academy to advance herself and get away from her really bad step family. And sadly, war is coming to town, and she does a lot of really shitty decisions in these books. She's given power, which means that her shitty decisions are that much more with bigger consequences. And we also have opium addiction, basically every content warning you could think of in these books, and also gods. And the last 3 books are basically, I'm 100% sure that these will be the favorite books of this year, no matter what I read. So I'll start. I don't know which one I should start. I'll start with this one, She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Shan. And I just discovered that this is weird. Oh no, I have to fix that one. This is a book that I started quite early in January. I think I read like 2 pages, 3 pages, and I said this is probably going to be the best book of this year. And I'm pretty sure it is. We have a contender in the side, but I'm pretty sure this is, if not the first, then in the second place. This is, again, Asian-inspired story about actual events, and this is about a girl whose brother is supposed to have a really good destiny. However, something happens, they have famine and attacks and all of that, and she decides that she will be her brother and take his future for herself. And I honestly loved, we had a lot of different point of views, political maneuvering, really disturbing scenes, a lot of probably content warnings. It was during the Mongol rule in China. So I honestly really love this and I can't wait to reread it and pick up the second book whenever this is published. And lastly, we have half of the series that I think will be one of my absolute favorite series ever, and that is the Likeness Trilogy. So I haven't put in the first book here because I read it in 2021 in November, and then I read The Neck of Things to Come in January and Light of All That Falls in February. And this series is absolutely perfection. As soon as I finish all of this, and these are chunker books, this one is over 800 pages, I honestly wanted to go and reread them. And Broken Binding is coming out with special editions for the subscription. I can't wait to see what they are looking like, and honestly I really want to pick them back again. But so what is this series about? This series, there's a lot of references of what it might be, but I think the one that I saw was a shorter condensed version of Wheel of Times, and I think it sounds quite reasonable. We have a quite complicated plot, a lot of different characters, a really big timeline, a very interesting world, interesting magic system, and so on, so on. So we have two main characters, Davian and Caden. Davian, we start with Davian. Davian is a school student, should have magical powers, however, he doesn't have them at that moment. However, things are happening and he discovers that he is one of the ogres. They have magical skills, they can see to the future and I think to the past, and they vary a lot. However, there used to be a lot of ogres when they I think started to lose their magic, or something happened, and people killed them off and made magical people obey the regular people. Then we have Caden, who doesn't have any memory, wakes up, is blamed for killing a lot of people, and we follow those two main characters. We have point of views of different people throughout the series, but those two are the main ones, and we are falling more into Caden in the book second, and then maybe book 3 is more about Davian. And we discover that he has a lot of history, a lot of people who know him from the past, and we discovered the whole bigger plot, basically what is happening in that world. We have a really big bad Shamael who is behind a wall of boundary, and that wall is weakening. So we have people who are trying to make it stronger again. We have people who don't believe it's weakening. We have things escaping from that, monsters, and killing a lot of people. War is coming. And I absolutely loved this complicated plot line and everything else. Also, we have a lot of talk about whether the end means justify whatever you're doing in the now. What is right, what is wrong, who is right, who is wrong, friendship throughout the ages, even if you don't agree with what persons are doing, and so on, so on. So the book 2 is a lot about philosophy and talking about friends who has different kind of opinions. However, my definitely favorite one is the third one, where things are happening. It's a much more action-packed. We have also a lot more concentration on time travel, and also we have a couple of scenes from the first book that we are getting so much more explanation in this one, and also we are seeing the whole plot in the third one piece by piece coming together. There were quite a lot of shocking things that I wasn't sure what is happening, and I definitely recommend reading this physically, or at least have physical books with you, because I went back to the first book and also flipping through the pages and coming up with like what is going on. Did I understand that correctly? That scene, I got more information in later, the same book or the next book for a particular scene, and I went back and read it with that information. So I was flipping through these books, and I literally had 3 books with me all the time when I was reading the third book, and it went past so fast. And absolutely, this is the best book series, in my opinion, that I have read ever, and I recommend everybody to pick it up. I do say it is very complicated, especially at the beginning, but you will get those tiny pieces of information, and you will get to see the bigger picture with each of the book and going through the book, and it was absolutely masterful. But this is about it for this video. I do hope you found some interesting books you want to try out, or if you have read anything, please let me know your opinion about them and whether you agree that they are 5 stars and really good ones, or you didn't like them for some reason. But as I said before, this is about it. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and bye!